All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Raw Intuition Health Show. We have another amazing guest and a very important topic to share with you guys today. Today, we are going to be having my amazing friend, Dr. Zuzana Van Werf Kaluch. Sorry, she'll have to pronounce her last name for you. I think it's Kaluchova. Kulichova. Um, okay. For sure. I'll just go with Dr. Zuzana. so, um, just a little bit of a bio on Dr. Zuzana. She is an ambitious mother of four girls who loves animals and has been eating a highly raw, plant based diet since 2015. At 33 years old, Zuzana had completed 2 years of university master's degrees and one Ph.D. and gave birth to four healthy daughters. After the birth of her four daughters, Zuzana decided to discontinue her academic career and dedicated her time to raising her children. Next, her duties as a mother. Next to her duties as a mother, Zuzana has been running her Instagram page, which is Zuzana's Raw Journey on Instagram. Check it out. I've got it linked down below. She's been running that since December of 2018, where she shares her passion for a high, raw, plant-based lifestyle. And besides her 3 academic degrees, Zuzana is a proud graduate of the Mastering Raw Food Nutrition 1-year education program that's put on by doctors Rick and Karen Dina. And Zuzana also regularly contributes to the Ultimate Raw Vegan Bundle, which is one of my favorite bundles, and is passionate about her horses, running, and yin yoga. So super excited to have Dr. Zuzana on here with us, and we're going to discuss 6 boundaries that you must set on your health journey. All right, so today is about setting boundaries. Let's bring Zuzana into the show here. Dr. Zuzana, welcome.
Thank you, Matt, for the great introduction. I'm really honored. I feel honored to be here. I just love your show, and I hope that I can, just give people some motivation and maybe some new perspective after this discussion today.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we appreciate your time and all the wisdom that you share on your Instagram, and you have a course as well. Is that right? That you just recently came out with. Do you want to just
Yeah,
share
that's that's
quickly a little
that's
bit
that's
about
true.
that?
I actually put it together last year, but then I was in the middle of the house reconstruction. So I ran a pilot round with 10 women. It's a 5-week long program. The program is about the foundational principles of raw food nutrition. Could be also seen as plant-based nutrition, but it predominantly focuses on the raw food diet. And in that course, I'm really trying to teach people, the basics, because people find about the diet, they get very excited, they go on social media, and there is just so much information and a lot of contradictory information. So I'm trying to kind of bring all different perspectives together in that course,
hmm
5 week long, and look into different topics of fat, of carbohydrates, of blood sugar regulation, and also teaching people self-awareness, how to make a food diary, how to get on the right track. So that's the basis, and in the future I'm planning to actually working on it. I want to extend the course with more weeks, because I feel personally that knowing the science is not enough.
Yeah.
And I think that our discussion today will show will confirm it again, that nutritional science is great, but each of us lives in different world, has different life situation, and so we need to be able to apply this nutritional information in our day-to-day life. So the second half of the course that I'm now working on will be dealing with self-regulation and self-denial, because self-denial is really huge, and I think we will talk about it also a little bit today.
Definitely. Yes, that is such an important topic to discuss. So I'm looking forward to that. And so, yeah, thank you for, again, everything that you're doing to help people understand how to live a plant-based, a raw diet successfully and healthfully. Because I think that we definitely need more really quality information being put out there to help people really understand how to do this lifestyle in a
Mhm.
successful way. So yeah, all right. Well, guys, as you know, for every show, if you stick around to the Q&A, you will have a chance to win some free, prizes. And we're gonna have, of course, you can choose one of my ebooks if you're the winner. And then Dr. Zuzana also is including an ebook of hers. Do you want to share a little bit about what that has in it?
Yeah, so I decided to include my very first ebook that I ever wrote for the Ultimate Raw Vegan Bundle. And this book is really it just summarizes a little bit, the beginning of my journey, like how it all happened and what were the most important stepping stone when I was starting, and I thought were also important stepping stones for other people. I also had this book actually reviewed by few people, like Tina from Fit Shorty. I had Chris Kendall reviewing the book. I just really wanted to put this book together in a way that makes sense,
Hmm.
and it was like peer-reviewed information. And so the book has theoretical information, but it also has recipes. I don't remember anymore how many, but I think like 26, 30 recipes, which are mostly focused on fruit meals, because the book is called Fall in Love with Fruit.
Mm.
So it's really predominantly focused on fruit-based recipes.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited for somebody to get that and dive into it. I was part of the bundle where you shared that, so I know that it's definitely a great book, and so I'm excited to have somebody win that. So thank you for including that, and we will yeah, we'll get to that in the Q&A. But for now, we like to start every show with the guest just sharing a little bit about their health journey or how they got into doing what they're doing today. So if you want to just share a little bit with the audience on how that kind of all worked out for you, that would be great.
Mhm. Sure. So for me, it all started in 2015 when I was in the middle phase of my PhD. I think I was in the data collection phase, no, data analysis phase. And I had 3 children. And, it was a bit, my decisions have been at that time a bit crazy, because I started my PhD with a belly like this, 7 months pregnant. And by the end of my PhD, I had 4 children. So I was, defending my PhD with a belly like that too. So it was, as I started, so I finished it. But at that time in 2015, so I had these 3 children. The oldest was 3, the middle was 2, and the youngest was 8 months. And I was this mother who was not very easy when it came to letting go of my children. So they went to daycare, but I was so strict about, breastfeeding, co-sleeping, baby wearing. Like I was doing everything I could. So I was often leaving work earlier because I had all the flexibility in my PhD, contract, because I have to deliver my PhD, and how I did it, they didn't mind so very much. So I was oftentimes leaving early to get the girls early from the daycare, but then I was working in the weekends. And at that time, they were all very small and, teething, and they were waking up just scared in the night. So my life was like, I was exhausted. And I kept on going for 9 months after Dominica was born, but when she was 9 months, I really I started to go down the hill. Like it started with just being tired. Then I started to experience anxiety that I never experienced before. And it was progressing to the point where I couldn't sleep at night. And I was like, really, I felt like I'm going crazy, like I felt like this dark forces around me, and it was like so uncomfortable and so scary that, looking back to that time, it just feels really weird that something like this possible. It felt like experience hell on earth, something like that,
Mm.
like I was at that point. um, but I knew, because I had friends and I also had experience with my own mother, who, also had a burnout and went to the doctors, and they put her on, medications. And from my experience, that usually was not the solution, to the problem. So I knew I don't want to do that. I knew that that was not something I wanted to do. So, even in the darkness, I decided to go online and just research the topic. And first, I went into the direction of psychic skills. How do I get rid of these dark energies? Like, how do I do this? And when I was reading about this, it was interesting because people who were into this psychic, skills, they oftentimes talked about food, and they talked about the correlation between their ability to connect to their higher self and the food they ate. So some people would be mentioning that meat is really weighting them down. Other people would be saying that chocolate would be like preventing them from, like being their true selves. And I just thought it was so interesting. And so as I was just searching and searching, this was like coming back to me all the time, plant-based diet, plant-based diet. So I was like, okay, I have to try. And actually it was not the first time that I tried not eating meat, because in my teens, when I was like 15, 16, I decided to go vegetarian. And that at that time, that was 90s. It was, I mean, people did it, but it was not so common. So like, what are you eating? What should we make for you? And my mom somehow went along with that. But when I then went to the Netherlands and I was living with other people and they all ate meat, I just went back to eating meat, because that was easy. I gave up after a year. But then when I came back to it, I decided this time that I'm also ditching dairy. I don't know. It was not, I didn't have any moral grounds at that time, I just really felt a sort of, it was not appealing for me to eat eggs or yogurt or milk. I never liked, like never. So that was very easy. And so this is how it all started. And during this time, I also met my friend. She went to South Africa and she there worked at a raw vegan restaurant. And she was like so excited, she was like, I never felt better in my life. It's like amazing. And she introduced me to Fully Raw Christina. And the ball started to roll like that.
Hmm.
And very quickly, like within a period of 1 month, I went from from meat eating to plant-based and fighting raw diet.
Wow.
So it was exciting. It was exciting, and the results I was feeling, that was like, wow, from being totally exhausted, like really rock bottom, suddenly I was like, whew, my energy was through the roof, and I wanted a fourth child. Just imagine.
Yeah.
Like seriously, I had a burnout at the beginning of 2015. I discovered the diet in April, and by the end of the year, I wanted another baby, and I
Wow.
got pregnant the next year in February. Just crazy.
Amazing. Wow.
So,
Well,
so this is how it all started for me. This is the story.
yeah. Well, that is an amazing story. And I mean, just the fact that, you went through your education and you already had three children and, you somehow managed all of those things. And it just shows, your um how capable and just amazing you are. So that's it's truly amazing. I haven't heard many people that have done anything close to that. So.
And Matt, what it is, it's interesting. When we were discussing the topic for this show, I realized that on this journey, boundaries, oh, that was something I didn't have,
Mm,
when I
yeah.
started. And going through this very ambitious path, I just realized how important they are.
Yeah.
Like I hit the wall so many times because I didn't have any boundaries, because I only had like huge ambitions.
Yep.
And I didn't even realize that my ambition was like so huge at that time. Only now retrospectively I realized that it was crazy. But as I was going through it, it felt normal. Even though I was the only mother, I mean, nobody in my team even had one kid. And I
Hmm.
had three, I mean almost four. And I just didn't think like I was disadvantaged or something.
Yeah.
But just looking back, it stopped my mind, like, what I was thinking exactly. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that is a great segue into kind of getting into the topic discussion of setting boundaries and the importance of, you know, having an understanding of what your boundaries are. I don't think many people really consciously think about the boundaries that they have set for themselves in their lives. They
Mm-hmm.
just kind of automatically are doing things without that awareness. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think if we can, shed some light on the importance of gaining the awareness of what boundaries you have in your life that are leading to the results that you're getting and
Mm-hmm.
to, the quality of your life, what you have, what results you're receiving based on, the things that you're doing, and boundaries are a big
Mm-hmm.
part of what leads us to that. So, do you want to start us off with, your first boundary that you would recommend, maybe that you have found that's helpful for you, or what you would recommend to others for, getting the results that they want in their health journey or whatever it is that they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm. So I think that it's really good to, to choose the goals wisely. Apparently, when I was setting my goals, before finding a raw food lifestyle, my goals were just too big. And I'm really doer, I'm really persistent, so I never gave up. I got what I wanted, but I hit the rock bottom and it was really, really hard. So if I would do it all over again, I think I would make different choices and still get the results with less pain.
Yeah.
And so choosing but probably at that time, this was the lesson that I needed. And had I not had the lesson, I wouldn't know what I know today. So probably it was just all necessary. But I think setting the goals is just so important. And I feel that how we set the goals really depends on where we find our inspiration. So, for example, when we, like want to change our diet and we go on internet and we start to, like see multiple accounts on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, it's just so important to be discerning and follow accounts that have some sort of, like established credibility or visibility. I would generally say that if somebody starts account and is on Instagram for a few months, and has like huge amount of followers, people usually validate the account by the amount of likes and followers. But actually, what I notice, like when you really, when you are online for a longer period of time and you observe that actually the real people who are really honest and know what they are talking about, usually they don't invest so much into marketing. So usually these are smaller accounts.
Hmm.
Like in our community, the people I really respect don't have like a huge amount of likes and comments and a huge amount of followings. For some reason, this is the trend that I observed. So I think this is really important because you know how they say that who you surround with, that's who you become.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, I mean, social media, it doesn't matter that it's just online world, but it has the same impact. And I experienced it myself that, I was just so lost at the beginning and I just wanted to just do it right because I saw all these girls, like eating these unlimited bananas, and it didn't matter that I was gaining weight. I still believed I'm not eating enough calories, and my diet was totally out of balance, like nutritionally, calorically, like macronutrients, micronutrients. I was gaining weight and feeling hungry all the time. And I didn't sleep well in the night. So, but I thought, like this person has so many followers and so many people are promoting the lifestyle. It must be, it just must be it. There is something wrong with me. So this is something that I would say was a big one for me to sort of like, dare to wake up from that dream. Like, look, you are not getting the result that you should be getting. So probably something is not right. And maybe it works for other people, but it didn't work for me.
Hmm.
So that's something to consider.
Yeah, that is such a good point, and I've noticed the exact same thing. Is a lot of the accounts that have these large followings. I mean, when you really dive into a lot of what a lot of these people say, you can kind of tell that they don't have really a deep understanding or like true firsthand experience of some of these things. They're
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times they're just repeating, what
Recycling,
yes,
right?
yes, they're just
Recycling the information, and then that information just, the wrong information grows bigger,
yep.
and it becomes the norm, and everybody believes it, and it's really scary sometimes.
Yeah, agreed. And it does seem that a lot of times these accounts have followers that are very aggressive. And if you
Mm-hmm.
disagree, they'll
Mm-hmm.
kind of come at you in the comments section and come to your channel and things. So yeah, and I would say, for me back in 2011 when I first got into this, there was actually less of a chance to run into those accounts because it was pretty new, so it was
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the more long-term people that you would find on,
Mm-hmm.
on the social medias, to kind of get an idea of what this diet was about. But yeah, over the last, several years, it's just there's so many people that are popping up randomly that are sharing, they are sharing some good information, but there's also maybe a lack of depth to what they're sharing, and so it can be taken in a way that doesn't give you the best results long term. And so definitely finding people that have been successful on this lifestyle for a long period of time, 10 plus years at least, because then
I
they
agree.
yeah, they have that firsthand experience to know, what, some of the things that are repeated, if they're actually, you know if they actually play out in practice versus just theory, because there's a lot of theory out there, right? But when
Mm-hmm.
you put it into practice, like you experienced,
Mm-hmm.
eating tons and tons of, bananas or whatever it is, and you were gaining weight. And so just because people are saying that you should do that, if you do it and it doesn't work, then you have to kind of reanalyze or, reevaluate the path that you want to take. So yeah, great point.
Yeah, and so I think that, this is really where those boundaries are so important, because if you see somebody on internet, like, telling you have to eat 30 bananas a day, but everything in your body is screaming against it, but you just do it anyway, because this is my goal, and when I achieve this goal, I'm going to get the results. And maybe if you do that for a week or two and it's not working, and then you decide to give up, okay, sometimes you do need to persist to actually get some, to change your habits and like that.
Yeah.
But if you try for years, and like it feels like being on a diet. Like I see it in my clients a lot of times. They just like try to do this super high fruit, like super high calorie diet, then they just can't keep up with it because it's not palatable. When you have something too much, it's not enjoyable. Your body is going to tell you if it doesn't taste good, it's not good for you. It's supposed to taste good. The food should be enjoyable.
Yes.
And then they like fall off the wagon, they go to eat like total junk, and then they think like, okay, but now, I feel so guilty, I'm going to start again. So it's like this yo-yo dieting, and and you justify it in your brain like this is for a good cause because it's healthy to eat fruits and vegetables. But I would really say that the big boundary is if it doesn't taste good, it's not it. If you
Yeah.
have to force feed yourself, it's just not it.
Agreed. Agreed. I would say there's maybe one caveat to that is like when it comes to like leafy green vegetables, and even I guess some people even say they don't like fruit. So,
Mm.
if it, like you said, sometimes you have to persist a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and I would say that does come into play with some of like leafy green salads and things because people's dopamine, set points are so high there because they're used to eating sugar and salt and
And
oil and
salt.
things. Yeah.
Mm.
So once their taste buds readjust, then they do start to taste better. But yeah, in general, I totally agree with everything you just said there.
But even with this adjustment phase, I would say that again, these boundaries are so important, because if you set goals for yourself, I'm going to eat more vegetables, but then you go on social media and then you see, like people like you or people like me or Fully or Christina, whatever, or Lisa, eating this huge salad.
Yeah.
And now you think, okay, to eat enough vegetables, I have to start with this big salad bowl. It's not going to work. I
Yeah.
mean, you are setting yourself up for failure. I mean, if you just eat, like two broccoli florets for the first time, and the next time is three and four and five, it's like starting to run or starting to do yoga or starting like anything new. You never, I mean, you never just, like throw yourself in the water if you can't swim and expect the results, right?
Right.
Like expect that, oh, it's gonna be fine, because it's just not how it works. So I think that these boundaries are so important to somehow be gentle with yourself, like have the goals, but then understand that it takes time, and that every goal has a sort of like path that you have to follow, that every step is important, that it's not like overnight that that you get what you want.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, patience is so big in
Patience.
this process of getting healthy and learning how to live a healthy lifestyle. Um, yeah, so I I will just throw in, so kind of, and this ties in with this. The first boundary like that I noticed was important was defining what food is to you.
It's a good
um,
one.
yeah, because a lot of people, so in a 21-day raw transformation program, I mentioned how, I would go to the gym and I would be working out, trying to get healthy, and all these people around me were, busting their butt trying to, get healthy and lose weight. And then on Fridays at the gym, they would have pizza parties. They would
Oh,
have
really?
yeah, they would have pizza at the gym. And I would just like look around at all these people that have been trying to like lose weight and all these things, and then they're eating pizza and bagels and cream cheese and all these things.
Hmm.
And so I was like, well, to me, that didn't even, there was no temptation because
I
I,
know what you mean.
yeah, I realized that that wasn't food. And so that kind of just clicked in my mind that these people still view these things as food. And if we don't define what food actually is to us, then we can, anything is open game for what we can eat. So if you think, potato chips in a bag are food, or if you think donuts are actually food, which these are all really, like, a donut is just a euphemism for a bunch of chemicals and isolated, you know, products put together formed into this ball or whatever. And it's really just a bunch of chemicals and flavorings and things, but we call it a donut, and then we think that, oh, that it must be okay to eat because it's a donut. So I would say think about what you truly define as food. Like, to me, food is, well, fruits and vegetables, of course, but it's something that we can consume that, provides a benefit without the detrimental, impacts on, the microbiome or just our overall health. Basically, you want to get more benefit than there is detriment. And with fruits and vegetables, there's basically zero detriment, and it's like 100% benefit. So that to me is what food is. It provides the nutrients, the water, the hydration, the enzymes, the biophotons, even that we need to have optimal functioning of our body. And like you experienced, your energy went through the roof, and
Hmm.
that's what food is supposed to do. I don't ever remember eating, a pizza, and I used to eat a whole pizza, maybe even a pizza and a half to myself, and I was never energetic after that process.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
now I can eat, a smoothie or some fruit or even a salad, and I feel great afterwards. I've got energy. And so, yeah, so the definition of our food is what really drives our choices and what we're consuming. But a lot of times it's subconscious. So really got to think about what you truly define as food.
And I think that, to be able to make this definition for yourself, because everybody will define it in, a slightly
Yep.
different way.
Yeah.
I think you need to have experience. So I noticed that on my journey, I started really like hardcore wanting to be fully raw, like, like no excuses, like cooked food is like, no, 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 I will feel bad if I eat some cooked food. But I did change
Me too.
on my journey, because when my kids grew bigger, I just wanted to do more things which with my friends, which sometimes, like, I really love snowboarding. I love to go high in the mountains and, middle of nowhere. There are no shops. It's just difficult to carry, a lot of raw food to survive the high physical activity. And I just realized I tried it for the first time I went, but the second time I realized that, come on, I can just, like, make some compromises and still make it work. So this is what happened for me. But I like to share that actually that phase of my journey where I was really sticking with fully raw 100% of the time, this was so important for teaching me what I truly desire. Because when I make the compromises, I can eat food which is less optimal than, like what I define as perfect food for me, but it's not something that I desire long term. It's like the okay, this is the plan B, this is the out of necessity. I'm weighing my options. Do I want to go snowboarding and then, compromise that, or do I just want to sit at home? I'm willing to make the compromise, but I know that by the time I arrive home, I'm like craving, my green smoothie and juice and like ton of fruit. And so I think having that experience, how it feels in your body, it really leads to that natural aversion towards non-food food, like this
Yep.
pizza and animal products. Is like really like dairy and meat for me is like I don't know in what kind of situation I would need to end up to really like reach for that.
Yeah.
That would be really that would be really something, like serious, I think, because it's like absolutely not on my list, like
Yes.
never. I don't feel it's palatable or inviting, or I don't know. It's interesting. But and then another definition I would say, for me, for food, is that, it is not for me, it's no longer about fully raw or not fully raw, but I would say that one of the common characteristics of food for me, it's plant-based and rich in fiber,
Mm.
you
Yeah.
know and so if you think of plant-based and rich in fiber, you immediately get rid of SOS, the sugar, oil, and fat,
Yep.
the sugar, oil, and salt, I mean,
Yep.
because none of it has fiber. So, also when we are talking about low-fat diet and people just, go on the path of excluding all overt fat, I did that myself. Long term, it was not a success for me because I was, confusing low fat with no fat. So I was going under 10%
Mm.
and, I mean, breastfeeding and having, 4 pregnancies in 5 years, that was not it. For me, that was not
Right.
it. So I like to be, between 10 and 20, depends on what I'm doing, how I'm feeling. I'm like never forcing myself anymore. It's just, it just happens naturally. But that fiber component, I think it's really, it makes the definition very easy.
Yeah. It does. Yeah, I love that. And I mean, I have the exact same viewpoint, and that goes back again to the there's theoretical arguments and then there's, real life experience where,
Mm-hmm.
you we're told that, if you eat cooked food, it's going to raise your white blood cell count or it's going to,
Mm.
it's going to make you toxic, all these things. I haven't found that to be the case at all and I used, I was very almost anti cooked food for the first several years that I was in this lifestyle. But after continuous research and just observing the evidence of, there's so many just whole food plant based
Mm-hmm.
people that have lived, over 100 years, and it's obvious that cooked food is not toxic in itself,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there,
Mm-hmm.
of course, there
Mm-hmm.
are, I would say there are toxic cooked foods, but whole steamed, pressure cooked, plant foods, I would never consider to be toxic. And so, um, am I frozen, or is that just
Yes,
my?
you are.
Oh,
Yes, you are.
weird.
I hear
Okay.
you. I hear you perfectly, but I can't see you anymore.
Oh,
You are totally blurred now.
weird. Okay. Hmm. Yeah, that's what it's showing on my screen too. But
Mm-hmm.
okay, weird. Let's see. Try something here. Nope, that didn't do anything. Well, hopefully it comes back online here. Otherwise,
But the cooked food, I would like to add that cooked food, I think that biggest part of really like, having issues with whole food, plant-based cooked meals
yep,
is when we are restricting them and then we overeat because, overeating can never make you feel good. I mean, even if you overeat on healthy foods, like too much is too much. And I think that there is this problem that, like people try to restrict it and then they lose control and they like overeat like crazy, or I don't know, potatoes or I don't know, what kind of foods. And
yep,
then of course it leaves them feeling horrible. And the conclusion is all cooked food is toxic and it's bad and better to avoid.
yes. Yeah, that's so true. And yeah, if I do set boundaries on the cooked food that I eat. It's always whole foods. 99% of the time. And it is, I like to use wet heat. So I pretty much only,
Always steaming. Yeah, me
yeah,
too.
I
Mhm.
pretty much only make cooked food in the instant pot. So it's always using wet heat to pressure cook it.
Mhm. The
Um,
same. Never
and
oil. I never use oil for cooking, like ever.
Right, same.
Mm.
And then also it's always with a salad, or again, most of the time it's with a salad. And so I do set boundaries for the way that I consume these foods so that they
Mhm.
do still provide good digestion, good elimination. I feel good afterwards. I sleep well. So, there's things to consider when you're changing your approach. And there's good ways to do it and not so good ways. And I do see a lot of people running into issues because they do start going to a lot of the packaged things or store bought things
Mhm.
or fried things, whatever it is, or they just really, like you said, they start eating more cooked food than raw food, and that can, deal and cause digestive issues and things like that. So yeah, there's various things to consider when setting your boundaries on how you're
Mhm.
gonna approach that.
And I feel, that most of the times, like I said before, people run into troubles when they set boundaries that are just, like too tight, too strict.
Yes.
Like, I must be so pure. I cannot, I don't know, like I cannot have a little bit of miso in my salad dressing, or
Yep.
I cannot have fat, because fat is bad. And then if you keep on doing this restrictive, like very strict, limited, diet for a longer period of time, your body is going to scream at you,
Yeah. Yes.
It's not like you are a failure or you are a bad person or you are not or you are lacking self-discipline. No, it's like it's impossible. Like nobody,
Yeah.
nobody could put up with this kind of restriction. So the boundaries sometimes, like setting them further away, like being more inclusive instead of being very restrictive, it can actually be more beneficial than other way around.
Agreed. Agreed. Um, j- just one second. I'm gonna try and refresh my phone here and see
Mhm.
if that
I
fixes
would
my.
like to see you too.
Yeah.
That would be so much nicer.
Yes. Let me try something here quick. I'm gonna put us into the be right back screen. Oops. All right, we are back. My phone somehow it was plugged in, but it still the battery ran out. I don't know how that happened, but we are good to go now. It looks like. So okay, sorry for that interruption. So where are we? Do you want to just I think did we finish that topic?
We
Do
were
you
talking about cooked food, and I said
right?
as the last thing that it's important to set the right boundaries, and
Yes,
it's better to set boundaries a little bit, that are a little bit more loose rather than just very strict.
yes,
Because if you set them a little bit more loosely, you give yourself more space, to just figure things out instead of just eliminating everything and just freaking out about everything and then just, like not being able to stick in that very small limited set of rules and standards that you think you should, live up to.
yeah.
That's where we left.
Right, thank you. Yeah, I call that the tightrope of compliance. That's what I see people, they just, it's like they're, you see a trapeze artist up there on a tightrope and there's very little room for a mistake, right? And it's easy for, they could just fall off easily. So that's what I kind of see people who are
Mhm.
so fixated on 100% raw, whatever. They have their very, slight margin of error type of lifestyle, and it often leads to people going off, carnivore or some other crazy
Yeah.
lifestyle. And really, all they had to do was widen their boundaries a little bit to
Mhm.
allow some flexibility, give them a little bit of options in situations that weren't, because nobody's going to live in a ideal situation for their, every single day of their life, right? There's always going to
Mhm.
be challenges and situations that make things more difficult. And if you don't have those boundaries situated in a way that gives you that flexibility to maneuver, some things, then it's a recipe for disaster. So
Exactly.
totally agree. All right, what do you have for your next boundary?
So I think I've been like going like, I've been touching on all of
All of
them
them?
like in
Yeah.
different aspect, but
Yep.
one that I still have left is very, very important. And it took me a long time to realize because, when I studied, I was so focused on food. Like I was so focused on food that I somehow lost the importance of other aspects of healthy living. So my third boundary is, like focus on other aspects of healthful living beyond food. And as you mentioned in the introduction, like when you were reading my bio, for me, running, horseback riding, yin yoga is something that is like so important and it all comes together, because today I went for a 10K run. And, to do a good 10K run, I need to fuel up. What is my body wanting to fuel up to do such a run? I crave bananas. So it like all goes together. So if you do physical activity and you want to do it good, you don't want to just like run exhausted and feeling like I'm dying. I know you are at the 3K and you feel like you are dying. No, I'm running strong, like there is like no problem. I don't feel in this 10K like, oh, I wish I was there. I'm out of breath. No. And to achieve that, I love fruit, it's like it goes together.
Yeah.
Then for the horseback riding, in order to be able to sit on a horse in a relaxed way and be able to move with the horse smoothly, yin yoga is like, it's just perfect because it loosens up your body, it improves flexibility, and it helps you to stay relaxed. And horses, they like people who are relaxed.
Sure.
So it's just so important to think beyond food,
Yes.
and realize that all these things just eventually just come all together, like when you do one then the other one follows. And I feel that when I was focusing on food, I was like so obsessing about getting the diet right. I would be like analyzing, oh, how many carbohydrates, how much fat, like, how many calories. Like I would be like so obsessed to micromanage all the aspects of my diet,
Yeah.
and I would totally forget to do all these other things. And actually, if you do these other things, like if you go for a run or if you do yoga, your satiety mechanism and your connection to your body, they just improve so much. Because if you are obsessing about food, I think it's very difficult to stay connected to your true hunger signals and what your body really needs. If you're continuously just thinking about food, it's just not it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It definitely, if you get overly concerned about the little tiny details
Mm.
of how you compose your diet, yeah, it gets exhausting, and it just usually doesn't lead to good places. So yeah, having being relaxed is super important. You know, not overly where you're just like kind of
I
apathetic to
don't care,
things,
like
but
whatever.
yeah, yeah. But within reason. So
It's always, it's like Chris Kendall always says, I love it. It's a dance, you know?
yes.
Like you need to somehow find your groove. You need to not fall, or you have to not like step over too far, or like cause yourself injury or something. But it's like always finding that groove, and where your balance is.
Yes.
And that changes because it's, when I see that, like when my kids were small, it was different than now. They are teenagers, I can do different things than before. So my approach is also like shifting, changing. I mean, the core remains the same,
Hmm.
but that boundary is like fluid. It's never like rigid, it's not rigid, and like it's always like this. And it always will be. I don't know what will be 15 years from now when the kids go away and I'm alone at home with my husband.
Yeah.
I don't know what my boundaries will be then.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's always changing. I've Things have changed for me throughout this lifestyle, and over the last 13, 14 years. And yeah, it's so important to maintain that flexibility and, just be open to learning. I think just having the mindset that you're a student of life and just
Mm-hmm.
learning as you go. You gotta expect that you're gonna change things, here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I think if you're trying to just stick, and I Paul Neeson mentioned this as well. I think it was Paul that when I had him on, he's been eating this diet and living this lifestyle for over 30 years, and he said,
Mm.
he doesn't know one person that's been doing this for a long time that's doing it the exact same way as when they
Uh-huh.
started. So
Uh-huh.
it's just part of the dance, as Chris
Mm.
says. So yeah, I think that's important to keep
It's
in mind.
nice. It's nice that you mentioned Paul, because I think his book was like the third book that I bought in 2015.
Oh
Like
wow.
it was the raw formula for health or something like that.
Uh-huh.
Like I remember that already at that time I was just like I was drawn to these long termers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. And that kind of plays into another one of the boundaries that I had written down, and that's,
Mm-hmm.
uh having boundaries on where you put your attention. They say pay attention because we only have so much attention, and it's basically like a currency for our life. It's like you
Mm-hmm.
have to spend your attention. You only have so much, so you spend it where
Mm-hmm.
you want to get the whatever exchange you're trying to make. So if you want to have the best outcomes with being successful on your diet or with your health or overcoming some health challenge, spend your attention on high quality education or information from people that, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, have established credibility and have shown that they know what they're talking about, and they're not just repeating what they read in a book somewhere. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think not getting distracted by a lot of the fancy, marketing and some of the accounts out there that are, really flashy and they got the big following numbers. It's not always the best way to go. So I think using your intuition is a good, learning to connect with your intuition to kind of
Mm-hmm.
be discerning in which accounts or which sources of information are giving you the highest quality information that you want, is important. So spending time in nature can help you connect with your intuition. Again, eating more whole plant foods can help you do that. Uh, Doing, clearing out getting your intestinal tract and your microbiome, you know, in a good place can help you connect with that as well. So, setting boundaries on the areas that we put our attention is something that I have found to be super helpful in allowing me to learn as much as I have about this lifestyle and gotten the results that I've gotten so far.
Hmm. I would like to add that I feel that to help connect with my intuition, I think it's been important on my journey to, to not eat all the time. I
Yeah.
feel that, like if I eat all the time, my taste buds, they get some kind of numb, like the food just doesn't taste so great.
Yeah.
So I really prefer to eat less often and then really enjoy. And I feel that that really encourages that connection with my intuition. Like, what is it that I truly need? What is it that is really calling me? And when I was so obsessed about eating enough calories, and I would be like really force feeding myself these like super huge banana smoothies and just not enough vegetables, not enough fat, like that. I was also fearing the low calorie density fruits because I thought I'm not meeting my calorie need, so I'm going to be a failure.
Yes.
And then I felt like the food just didn't taste good anymore, and then it was so hard to stay on the to stay on the path, because yeah, if something doesn't taste good, it's very hard. So eating less but smartly, like in a smart way, sometimes, like I remember Tenny Rose said that, like, get everything you need and nothing that you don't.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, I think it's Chef AJ that says hunger is the best sauce.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
allowing yourself to get hungry before you
yeah.
eat, I think, yeah, instead of snacking throughout the day all the time, and setting boundaries on your eating window. Intermittent fasting is
Hmm.
something that I practice, not even really intentionally. It's just something that
Hmm.
happens intuitively.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely, and there is evidence out there that shows the beneficial changes that having being in a fasted state every day for at least a little bit of time
Hmm.
has the it changes your microbiome, or it raises bacteria that produce butyrate and that protect the integrity of the gut wall and help you to eliminate things, detoxify better. So
Yeah, I would say it even increases my energy.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
it's crazy. Like I wake up and the first thing I do is I go on my rebounder and I set, depending on, how much time I have, I set either 10 or 15 minutes. And I rebound with weights. And then I just get everything ready, girls to school, house, everything. Suddenly it's like 2.5 hours, 3 hours later, and then I feel like, oh, I really want to eat something now, and it just tastes so good. It's
Yes.
not like waking up and like, okay, what am I going to eat? It's not like you said, it's not something that I'm like strict about, that I feel like I must not eat in the morning, but I just really don't feel like.
Yeah. Yep. And I think a lot of
Yeah.
people, yeah, a lot of people force themselves to eat when they're not hungry because they just think that they need to,
Hmm.
like you said, get in 30 bananas a day or whatever it is, that the advice that they're following, and they're not really listening to that intuition, or even just thinking about why they're doing what they're doing. So yeah, I think that's really important, and I'm glad that we touched on that.
Hmm.
Anything else that you want to say about that topic?
Yeah, I was still thinking as you were talking that, sometimes it's interesting. Actually, it's interesting. I every time hear it from my horseback riding teacher. When something is not flowing, I do the simulator lessons like once in a month, and she stands next to me, and she looks like how I sit, how I move in my body. And when I practice something new and it's not going, she says to me, you are working too much. You're just trying too hard, like you have to let go. And it's the same with food. Like when you are trying too much to get it right, somehow it backfires. So it's important to release this like strict mindset about how things should be.
Yeah.
Because if somebody tells you like this is too much food, this is too little food, but for who? Maybe it's, maybe this is too much food for this person, but maybe it's okay food for me, or other way around, like it's so important to stop comparing ourselves to others. Also, another example is like, there are like a lot of respectable accounts, that like people like Dr. Nourish or Dr. Esselstyn,
Hmm.
and they promote this very low-fat diet, and it works for the heart patients, like most of the people just who subscribe to this protocol are people who are like over consuming fat, and then giving your body the low-fat diet is like amazing, it gets you result. But if you are somebody who has been restricting fat because you are like superly, like overfat, avert, freaking out about it, like you're afraid of fat, and then you go on this low-fat diet, you may not feel good. You may just not feel good because you are still eating too little fat, and maybe it's going to be certain period of time that your body just needs a little bit more to come to the balance again, and then naturally you release the craving for fat,
Yeah.
so I think it's so important to not subscribe to these rules and really learn to listen to what your body is telling you. Because really, I can guarantee you, when your body has what it needs, it's not going to drive you to overeat
Hmm.
on walnuts or I don't know, some people like cashews,
Yep.
Like when you give it what it needs, there is no overeating. So when you have the urge to overeat, something is just not right in my experience.
Yeah. Mine as well. I agree.
Mhm.
And I went through that. I used to eat 6 avocados at a time sometimes in the very
Mhm.
beginning. And now if I did that, I would not feel well. I would probably
It's
have.
just it's not tasting good, right? It's
Yes.
not like your body tells you. It's reliable. Like your body is not your enemy, it's your ally, and people
Right.
just oftentimes seem to forget about that.
Yep. Exactly. So yeah, listening to the body is always a good way to go.
And even when it's scary, even if your body, it seems it's telling you to do like really scary things, like maybe you really have like really cravings for, people have problems with that if they try to be fully raw
Hmm.
and they don't eat enough vegetables, and then they crave the steamed veggies or the steamed chickpeas or kidney beans, and they feel so guilty about having this craving. But if you only eat fruit and you don't get the minerals in, I mean, it's normal that you have that craving. I mean, it's just so normal. So, if you're just giving to that craving, maybe for a few days you are really going to feel like you need to overeat. But there is a day when you really feel like, actually, I don't need to eat this anymore, and it's like all natural and all normal. That fear is just, it's not a good friend.
Yeah. Yeah, that is such a good point. Um, I I noticed I have noticed that people that do when they let fear drive their diet, they're afraid of eating any fat, they're afraid of eating any cooked food, especially because they haven't set their boundaries of what their definition of food is. So
Mm-hmm.
they
Mm-hmm.
consider all these different things as things that they shouldn't eat. But yeah, when you incorporate, like you said, the whole, even if you're including steamed fruits or steamed vegetables, you're getting in those important minerals that you're potentially going to lack if you're eating like exclusively fruit, especially,
Mm-hmm.
but like just
Mm-hmm.
very little amount of greens and other
Mm-hmm.
vegetables that maybe the vegetables that you don't like raw, even though the raw
Exactly.
food dogma or theory out there is
Mm-hmm.
that if you have to cook it in order to eat it, it's not food. I
Mm-hmm.
used to think that, but I don't necessarily think that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Only be I mean it makes sense, you
Mm-hmm.
know, in theory, but in practice, there's it doesn't hold, So
You know what it is? I think that we have to realize that we live in a world which is not so natural anymore.
yes.
I mean, in a way, it is natural because obviously, if things are not natural, they're not possible.
Yep.
Unnatural things don't survive. It is not possible to grow something, unless it is in line with nature. And I mean, I did 8 years of research in agriculture biotechnology, and many people will tell you that this is unnatural But to make a genetically modified plant
Hmm.
is only possible because it's possible in nature. And this happens through agrobacterium mediated transformation. If that agrobacterium, wouldn't exist, and scientists wouldn't discover how to use it in a way to transfer the genes, it wouldn't be possible. So to say it's unnatural, I mean, it occurs in nature, but it wouldn't occur in the species that people use it for. But I think if something, or flying,
Yeah.
if it was not in line with nature forces, we could never fly.
Right.
So in a way, we live in a world that has all these technological innovations, and we grow food that is grown in the greenhouses and not in the, like, oftentimes not in the mineral rich soil. So I think that to accept these imperfections, like, this is the world we live in. And if steamed cauliflower or broccoli is, like, it's part of it, I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. That's very interesting. And yeah, I completely agree. It doesn't have to be raw in order to be a healthy option for you. So yeah, cauliflower, broccoli, potatoes, rice, even lentils, all these things can be a part of a healthy whole food plant-based diet that is predominantly raw, of course,
Hmm.
but it doesn't have to be 100%. And I just
Exactly.
hope people will relax, like you said, and not be so
Hmm.
uptight when it comes to Raw's Law, because the point is not like you don't get some reward at the end of your life for eating 100% raw. Like
Yeah.
your reward is your health, and if you're
Hmm.
eating 100% raw and it's not giving you, because of the maybe limited options that you have or the poor quality fruits and vegetables that you have, if you need to incorporate some steamed vegetables or pressure cooked vegetables or anything like this, it's gonna help you maintain a healthy lifestyle long term, and that should be the goal, in my opinion.
Exactly.
So yeah, having some foresight into the consequences of either incorporating some steamed vegetables into your diet and keeping yourself satisfied and getting enough nutrients and all these things, versus sticking to your 100% only raw food diet that's maybe just like bananas and apples and
Mm.
romaine. That's
Mm.
it's not gonna get you to the same place. So yeah, that's kind
Yeah,
of
I think it's like this. If you absolutely enjoy the food that you are eating and you find it easy to prepare and it gives you results, like, you
yeah,
feel great health wise, then being fully raw is your thing.
yeah.
Like, if it is easy to prepare and it's easy and you really love the taste, it's totally like, go for it. But for me, sometimes, given all my, interest and 4 children and the sport activities and everything, I'm not feeding only myself. I'm feeding 6 people.
Right.
So if I wanted to keep this family fully raw, I would need to live in the kitchen, I'm afraid. Like, seriously, I would
Yeah.
need to live in the kitchen. So for me, it's really easy to make these compromises. And I think that actually one of the big boundaries that I learned on my journey that I didn't mention is, don't force your boundaries onto others.
Mm, yeah.
Like, that's a big one. I mean, I live with 5 people in this household, and I'm not forcing my food beliefs on my children or my husband. I mean, my husband, he takes it because he really sees that it works and makes him feel great. So every day he makes his green smoothie and he brings it to work, and like, eats plant-based, like, it just happens without him even trying. But my children, my 3 children, they're teenagers, and they are going now into the exploration path of trying different things, and I can't hold them back because I have to think of myself, what I did at their age.
Yeah.
I think when I look at what they are doing now and what I did health, I mean, food wise, I think they are doing amazing, even
Hmm.
though it's far from perfect of what I defined as healthy. And but compared to what I did at their age, I think they are just being meat-free children, vegetarian, and also, yeah, they eat some cheese. I decided to not force it, and it's
Hmm.
interesting. Some of them, like, really don't like the regular cheese. They really just want the the vegan cheese. but some just really want it, and I decided not to push it, like the
Yeah.
choice ultimately is theirs. I cannot, I went through periods when I was like restricting, that I would say this, we don't have this at home. But then I don't know, it didn't feel right.
Mm.
Like I didn't want them to feel ashamed if they make choice that I don't approve,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
I must approve it, and if they don't do as I want, then they are bad children,
Yeah.
I let it go. So I'm just very open-minded. I think this is important to really have your boundaries for yourself and let others to define their own.
Yeah. That I completely agree. I've heard so many other parents in this lifestyle that have that same opinion, and they've practiced the exact same thing where when you force it on other people, a lot of times it causes them to go in the complete other direction. And so
Mm,
it's worse off trying to force it on people instead of letting them just, maybe giving them the information and just being an example, for them. Just be the example and they'll typically follow.
exactly.
And so
Exactly.
yeah, so oh, there was another something else I was gonna bring up. Now I forgot what it was, but it'll come back to me.
Mm.
So
But
yeah,
shame is never a good thing, because if I mean it can be also like your partner or your friends or your family, not necessarily just your kids, but
yeah,
if people feel shameful around you about the choices that they make, that's not right. It's
right.
not right.
Yep, totally. Very, very good point. And dang, what I was gonna say was something I really wanted to say, and now I can't remember what it was. So,
Oh, that's a pity.
and
Did you share all your boundaries already? Did you share them all?
yeah, the other one that I had written
Oh, the
down,
last one, you didn't say the last one, right? Like how extreme you want to adhere to any one aspect of your life. Because
right?
you can go extreme like with anything you do, right?
Yes, yes. That we've kind of already. I felt like that was kind of just incorporated into what we've already talked about. So, but yeah, I mean, how extreme you adhere to these things. Again, it goes back to, in my opinion, the theory of something versus the real life
Mm-hmm,
practice of
mm-hmm,
it and the
mm-hmm,
results that it provides.
mm-hmm,
You know, just understanding that, like you said, what like the way that the things that we did growing up, um, it was for me anyways, it was just like it was just a bunch of processed foods, every day, very few fruits and vegetables. And then, we look at people that want to force the idea that you have to only eat raw fruits and vegetables or even whole plant foods, which
mm,
of course, we both promote that, but you can't force other people to do that. And especially when you're extreme with yourself, it is one
mm-hmm.
thing, but being extreme with other people is
Yeah,
a completely different,
yeah.
even more complicated thing that leads to issues. But yeah, I mean, for me, one of the things that I have learned that has been a big change from when I first got into this lifestyle is that, it doesn't always have to be 100% ideal, right? Like it's very few times that you're gonna go, an entire year where everything was an ideal situation for you, and you had to, you had all the options available to you that you wanted. So it just again ties in with everything that we've been talking about, and just releasing that extremism,
Mm-hmm,
releasing that um, that expectation of perfection that a lot of us want to apply to ourselves, and just relaxing and just enjoying life, and looking at food as just one aspect of our health. Even though it's a very big aspect, it does impact all the other categories of a healthy lifestyle. But once you get the general healthy diet down, right? Not the perfect healthy diet, but just a generally healthy overall diet, that is going to feed into all the other aspects of your lifestyle. And so, being extreme in one spot versus, it throws off everything else. And
Mm-hmm.
so it affect, like, when you're super extreme with your diet, just for an example, it makes your mental health worse, it makes your social health worse, it makes
100%.
your physical health worse,
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes. So yeah, just being balanced and just releasing that expectation of perfection, I think, is just a boundary that everybody should look at in their own life.
And it's really nice that you mentioned this because I had it here noted down as my boundary number 4. Don't try to be perfect.
Yes.
Because it just and in my understanding and in my experience is oftentimes also, like that being perfect, like for example, being on social media, you hosting now this show, being perfect, if you eat healthy, you are always going to have a lot of energy. You are always going to be happy. You are always going to be high. And
Right.
and I have days like, for example, I'm so busy during the week with sports, with girls. I know every day the girls are either riding or playing tennis, and I'm running and riding horses, and it's just like so busy. So in the weekend, I really take time to, like let go, like gear down, like accept, like, oh, I feel really exhausted in my body. I need a recovery day. Like I don't need to prove to myself and to everybody that I can run every day and take K or something like that, just
Yeah.
because raw food makes it possible,
Yeah.
It's just like what kind of perfection is this? I think that perfection includes imperfection, like there is also balance between perfection and imperfection. It's not always just everything positive. There is space for negativity in some, ways too.
Yes. Yeah. And that reminded me of what I was gonna say.
Oh,
So
great.
yeah. I think what we are promoting and what we have found to be the most helpful for ourselves and others is, we're teaching, or we're advocating for living, eating and living in a way that works for your practical life. I think there's a difference between promoting what is going to be beneficial for the most people out in the public versus promoting the influencer diet and lifestyle, because the influencer
Mhm,
diet and lifestyle is completely different than real life, everyday situations.
mhm,
Everybody online, like you said, everybody's perfectly happy, everything is perfect, they're eating their day in a life, what I eat in a day videos are always absolutely perfect, and it just looks like that's the way every day should look for everybody out there.
mhm.
And that is the
Misleading.
it is misleading. It's the influencer diet and lifestyle versus the
The
everyday,
reality,
the reality, yes, the real life,
day-to-day reality.
yes. So understanding that your boundaries should not be dictated by the what I eat in a day videos out there from
Mhm,
people,
mhm.
and the posts from influencers. I mean, they of course have valuable information, they have beneficial information, but they're not everything. They're not like the full picture. That's just one,
No.
that's just an example of what you can do, but it's not an
Mhm,
example of what you have to do every single day. So
mhm.
that's my other one, is just, understanding that the influencer lifestyle is much different than what your real life experience is going to be, and to be able to make that distinction.
100%. I mean, I sometimes see these contributions, by these big families, like happy children, everything is perfect. Oh my gosh, with my kids, they have crises multiple times per day. Either they get arguments with friends or with each other, or they're frustrated about something. And before I thought like, oh, something is wrong, why they're crying, why they're frustrated. And then I realized these are healthy emotions. This is a healthy expression of how they feel, how they experience world. Why should they never show anger? Why they should never curse on their siblings? I mean, if you have 3 siblings, you curse because sometimes they do really annoying
Yeah.
things.
Yes.
So this is just what's going on here with 3 teenagers and one that is 8-year-old. They all have opinions, and And sometimes I really think like, girls, I'm just leaving. I just can't put up with this. But this is not what people see when they come to my Instagram profile, you know? This
Right.
is not typically what I record when it's going on because it happens and I'm not thinking of recording, you know? It's
Yes.
usually things that get published are sort of like, I don't know, are well thought of in advance, you know, like what is the value I can deliver to people. But this part of my life just doesn't get, doesn't get captured. And then it gets people maybe the wrong idea, which I really don't like, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. But when people have that understanding and that awareness that what people most of the time what people share online is close to ideal, or it's the good side of things that they
Yeah,
want
exactly.
to
Hmm.
put out there. But
Hmm.
yeah, we can't expect to have our lives be that all the time. So,
Hmm.
and I think most people understand that, but I think it's important to just highlight. So yeah, I mean, this has been great. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you feel like deserves being mentioned?
Not really. I think that for me, really the biggest message of our whole discussion would be to try not to be perfect, like
Yeah,
try to not be perfect and stay true to yourself,
yeah,
to your desires and your wants. Like, don't be ashamed of your needs, because this is something that I struggled with for a long time, not only when it comes to diet, but also like, just like wanting to, for example, ride horses, like spending more time with the horses. I would feel like I'm undeserving, like it's out of my reach because it's too expensive, because I don't have time, because I don't know, like just allow yourself to connect with your true desire and believe that it's possible for you to have it.
yeah,
It's just so important, because if you feel all the time that you can't have what you want, it's really living life in misery, because you can have what you want. You just have to allow yourself to have it. Matt, when I bought my first Vitamix, I felt so undeserving of it
mm,
because it was like 700 euros. And I was like, I should spend this much money on one blender. I ordered it and it came. I waited for a long time to get it. I first had a like non-name brand.
mm-hmm,
And it came, and I said to my husband, you know what, I'm sending it back. And he's like, you are crazy. You wanted to have it for so long. Why would you send it back? You deserve this Vitamix blender. And I struggled so much. And I feel that this raw food journey really taught me so much, like it brought so much clarity into my life and so much connection with myself and my own desires. It's just incredible. So I wish that people, discover that it's possible for them too.
yeah. That's beautiful and so true. This lifestyle does show you that you are deserving of the life that you want and the health that you want, and that um, it's definitely possible for everybody. So I hope this episode will help people reach that point where they do feel deserving, and they do understand that the boundaries that they set in their lives are going to either help them or limit them in the realization of some of these things. So yeah, very grateful for all that wisdom and information that you shared with us, and I appreciate the the balance that you bring to this lifestyle, and the resources that you put out there for people to learn that as well.
Thank you, Matt. It was incredible discussion. I really enjoyed it very much. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, my pleasure. Well, do you have a few minutes for some Q&A?
Oh, sure.
All right, sounds good. And again, before we get into the Q&A here, the best places to connect with Zuzana, do you want to share where people can go to find you?
Sure. I think the best place is my Instagram account, Zuzu's Raw Journey.
Okay.
That's the best place. That's what I check regularly. And yeah, that's the best platform, I would say.
Okay, terrific. Well, I've got that link down below, so I encourage
Mhm.
everybody to go check that out. Follow her on her Instagram, and learn from all the great posts that she puts out there. So let's hop on over into the Q&A room. And I hope you guys have some great questions to throw in the chat today. Again, if you ask a question, you'll be put into the drawing you'll get to choose one of my ebooks that you'll get, and then you'll also get Zuzana's ebook, Fall in Love with Fruit. I think that was what it was called, right?
Mhm.
Yep, Fall in Love with Fruit. So we'll do the drawing at the end of the Q&A, and I hope to have one of you guys get those amazing gifts. So let's see here. I have seen some. I think there was a question back here already. From Maria. Maria said, would you consider white baked potatoes with no oil as a good food?
It's a question to me.
Yeah.
Yes, I would. I mean, baked potatoes in the oven. I know that there is a lot of discussion about, like different methods of heat processing
Mm.
food. And generally, I mean, again, we are speaking now theoretically. So in theory, the best way of preparing food by heat is steaming, like what we like to do. That's what I do most of the time. But for example, when I'm making lasagna for my family, I mean, it's difficult to cook, to steam them, like I do
Yeah.
need to put them in the oven. And I think that there is generally a distinction, between how much fat is involved in baking in the oven. And I think when you put potatoes with skin and you bake them in the oven, my kids love it, it's something that I'm all for.
Yeah.
For me, it's healthy. For me, that is a healthy food still. Yeah.
Agreed. I would agree. All right. Annie says, what does a day of eating look like for you?
It depends. So, for example, today I did this 10K. Obviously, then I feel really hungry afterwards. So, it was a lot of fruit, a lot of fruit. Like before I went to run, I ate bananas. When I came back, I ate bananas and I also made a green smoothie. Then let me think what I had afterwards. Oh, then afterwards, I went to our fridge and there were some leftovers from the day before. So, a lot of Brussels sprouts and there was some brown rice and I ate it with a sweet chili sauce. It was a really interesting combination. But I just felt like having those Brussels sprouts after having so many bananas. I don't know. I didn't question it, But interesting is that I didn't feel like eating anything fatty, like anything. And I still have to have my dinner, and it's already 7:30. It's really late. I had planned to drink this green juice, but we were so busy talking that, well, I didn't touch it. So here, this is what I made as my starter for dinner.
Nice.
And for dinner, I made steamed potatoes and green beans. And I like tofu, which is prepared in the, I don't know if you do this in America, but it's like the toast machine.
Mm.
Where you can put bread, people put bread and cheese and ham and they toast it.
Yeah, like a
I usually
convection
put
oven.
there I usually put their baking paper, like the parchment paper.
Hmm.
So it's totally like oil free, it doesn't stick or anything. And I just cut tofu as it is, like totally unprocessed, no dressing, no marinade, nothing. It's weird, but I like it that way. So I just put it in between those papers
Hmm.
and I close it. Like people, they make toast, I make that or I don't know how, or sort of panini kind of thing, I
Okay.
don't know how to call it in English. And so I leave the tofu there, and it becomes a little bit less juicy, that the water evaporates,
Yeah.
and then I just like to eat that with my vegetables and the potatoes. Somehow it feels all right. Sometimes I put some mustard on it. So this is how it looked for me today. And for my green smoothie, big green smoothie, I put 150 grams of kale and I had bananas and apples in it.
Okay.
And bananas, how many I ate before run and after run, I don't know exactly, but it was probably around 10, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds amazing. And
Yeah, so I still have this green juice here. So, it's like this. I always try to balance the carbohydrates with vegetables. Like it doesn't matter if they are in the cooked or raw form, there must be balance. I really don't feel like eating like extreme amount of potatoes or extreme amount of rice or extreme amount of bananas. I eat as much as I enjoy. And then I balance it with vegetables and some fat. Like when I really crave the avocado, I will have it.
Hmm.
And also, like at the beginning, I was also very like careful about eating tahini because it's high in omega-6s and like all this.
Yeah.
But when I feel like having it, I will have it.
Yeah.
And when I allow myself, I realize that after like 3 times, 4 times in my dressing, I don't feel like it anymore. I don't want it anymore.
Right.
So I'm sort of like easy. And tomorrow I'm going to have a horseback riding lesson in the morning. It's always fruit. It's always fruit in the morning, green smoothie, and then whatever happens in my day. Tomorrow is busy because I go 2 times to stables in between walking the dog. So I probably, will have things ready in the fridge so that when I get back at 6, the dinner is already like ready to be served. So this is how it works. And so either I put the greens in juice or in smoothie or in salad.
Hmm.
It just depends how much time I have to sit down eating the salad because that takes time.
Yeah.
This is easy, smoothie is easy. So that's how I do it.
I love it. Yeah. Making it, again, this is a big thing that I try and get people to understand as well is, if it has to be easy.
It
If
has to
it's,
be easy. It has to be
it,
doable.
yes, if it's not easy, you're not going to stick with it, period.
No.
So that,
If you feel like sitting down and eating salad is a chore, and you are thinking, oh, I'm still chewing, but I actually should be already in the car getting somewhere,
yeah,
it doesn't work. I mean, another way to get around it is to do the wrap that Lisa and Nate are doing. Like that's like super, super easy.
yeah,
But for some reason, for me to have this dehydrated food every day, I don't know. I can't have it every day.
yeah,
I can have it every now and then, but for me personally, I stopped to like it after a few days. It's handy, but I don't force feed myself. So if I stop liking it, I don't do it. Then I juice. I always like the juice and smoothie. I like always.
yeah,
That's yeah.
yeah. I'm the same way.
Yeah, I work like that. I wish that I love these wraps every day because it's so easy to prep it. It's so easy to grab it, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I like them sometimes,
Yep.
but not every day.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, everybody's going to have
Yeah,
different
difference.
preferences.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why it's so important that everybody figures this out. You got to test it out on yourself because if you
Yeah.
don't, you're never going to know. So, let's see. Let's see here. Mallory said, so nice to hear a mom talk about feeding her family and herself. She said, just being an example is enough and is perfect. And she said, do you have a favorite dinner to make for your 3 kids that they all enjoy and is mostly healthy?
So I have 4 kids, and usually, they all have different preferences. Oh, it's crazy. But okay, there are things that they all like, and that's definitely the steamed potatoes, steamed vegetables. Brussels sprouts, yesterday I made them. It was totally unsuccessful. I said, try it. No, never. This just doesn't look like a good thing. I said it's just like broccoli. It just looks differently. No, Brussels sprout, no. But they really love steamed cauliflower, steamed broccoli, steamed green beans. These are the 3 vegetables steamed that are like super, like they are crazy about it. Like they
Mm,
really, really enjoy it. And then like my youngest, she really loves legumes. She loves chickpeas and kidney beans. That's like her favorite. So anytime I put it on the table, it's like, like super favorite food. But it's really difficult for me to make food that everybody enjoys. I actually usually make foods that are not like mixed together. I like
hmm.
have things like separately so they can sort of like construct their own meal.
Yeah.
Because, for example, when let's say I make a curry, I have to not put chickpeas in it because one of the girls will not touch it.
Mm,
If there is legume in it, she will not touch it. And she's 12-year-old, she will not touch it. She will just, she can like it without it, but with it, no. So I have to put the chickpeas on the side and just make the curry with the cauliflower and all the vegetables and the curry sauce and the coconut milk and then with the rice, and they will eat it. Some of them will only pick the cauliflower from it, the cauliflower with the sauce, but then the onions are the problem, or the paprika that is cooked is the problem because they only like it raw. It's like really, when you have 4 kids, it's hard. So I try to really provide it in options.
Mm.
Everything separated, and like in the buffet, you come and you construct your own plate. This is my approach.
That is amazing. And yeah, I can only imagine having four different personalities, four different
Yeah.
people that have different taste preferences. Yeah, I can imagine that's a
Even
challenge.
making a salad, it's just so funny. So one loves olives, another one loves radishes, but then the third one doesn't like the radishes and hates the olives. So I just cut things in separate bowls. The salad, the romaine lettuce, everybody loves it. So the dressing, everybody loves it. So I'll just put it in these separate bowls and really let them. This works the best for me and avoids this horrible frustration, because if I throw it all together, mix it together, and then it just they don't touch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a great tip for parents out there if they're struggling with that. If you have multiple kids, yeah, make it a buffet style.
Oh, actually, one thing which is really good tip, I think that really worked really great with my kids also when they were small, is soups.
Oh,
Like if they're very difficult with getting some vegetables in, or even the one who really dislike the legumes, I would always sneak some in and blend it in the soup. And
smart.
she wouldn't notice. And of course, some stronger taste like chickpeas, if you put too much of it, it's
Mhm.
noticeable.
Yeah.
But like white beans, it's just so creamy and it has such a neutral taste that you can even blend it in the like a spaghetti sauce,
Mm.
the red spaghetti sauce. I
Yep.
would do that, and it was like perfect. Even in lasagna sauce, I would blend chickpeas, and everybody would eat it. But if there were pieces,
Yeah.
like a real chickpeas that you can spot visually, no.
Yeah. Great
So these
tip.
are the tricks. Yeah.
Yeah. We should have you on to do a whole parenting show. Yeah, that would be, I mean, you have more experience than I'm sure a lot of people. So that's awesome. Annie says, "How do you feel about organic?" She said, "Where she's at, they have very few organic choices." Do you have an opinion on organic versus non-organic?
I think that there are different kinds of organic, like when it comes to quality. So, we have all these supermarket chains in Europe here, like Lidl and Aldi, and this like cheaper, it's probably will be like Costco or something like the cheaper supermarkets.
Mm-hmm.
And they all carry organic food. But when I go to the real organic co-op, like cooperative, the quality of the organic produce at this farmers cooperative is so much different
Mm.
than what you get in these low cost supermarkets. So I would say that of course it's good to eat less pesticides, and just generally, I mean, I spent 8 years, actually more than 8 years, 8 years working at the TU Delft, the Technical University of Delft, doing agriculture, biotechnology research there. And before that, I also studied at the Agricultural University in Slovakia. So I spent a lot of time doing, agriculture science. And the thing with pesticide is that when we use pesticide, it kills everything. It's sprayed and it kills not only the targeted organisms, the pests, but it kills everything in the field. So I think choosing organic is not only for our own health to not eat the pesticide, but it's also for the health of the ecosystem and environment. So I think that it is a better choice. But we just do what we can do. I mean, if you can't get access to a good quality organic produce, then you do your best. You do what you can do. I
Yeah.
think that would be my
Yeah.
my stand on this topic.
Great advice. I couldn't agree more. Um, all right, let's see here. Judith would like to know if you take any supplements.
Supplements, I take definitely B12 every day. That's something I take. And in winter, I'm actually planning now to buy vitamin D.
Hmm.
In summer, I don't, because I really spend a lot of time in sun. I'm always like suntan and like brown skin. So
Yeah.
I don't feel that in summer I need that. But now in the Netherlands, it's end of October and it's just so cloudy, and It's going to be rainy and there's just not much sun. So I was just thinking today that I should get the vitamin D supplement. Those are the two.
Okay, terrific. Same here.
Mm.
B12 for sure, and yeah, I have a vitamin D lamp, and then I also have a vitamin D
Okay.
supplement. So I kind of go between the two. Um, yeah. So let's see. Carl says I needed to hear this conversation. Thank you both so much. And Annie says great talk. Let's see. Linda has a rescued rodeo horse, and she also has rescued turkeys and sheep.
Oh,
Yeah, so that's very cool. All right. Well, that looks like all the questions, and I think we're at about time here for the show. So let's quick do the drawing. I'm going to pull in the wheel here with the names of people who asked the questions. And thank you everybody for all your questions and the comments and the discussion taking place in the chat there. I always love to see your guys' comments and feedback here, so I appreciate that as always. All right, so unless I miss somebody, I think we have Maria, Annie, Mallory, and Judith for the people that asked questions. I hope I didn't miss anybody, but let's go ahead and see who's the winner. So here we go. Mallory is the winner of the ebooks. So Mallory, feel free to send me an email at matt@myrawintuition.com, and we will get you any one of my ebooks that you don't have, and also Dr. Zuzana's ebook. So congratulations, Mallory, and thank you, Zuzana, for offering your ebook, and again for all the information you shared today. Really enjoyed this conversation with you. I always have a great time meeting with you, and so I look forward to the next time. Do you have any parting thoughts before we log off here?
not really. I think that we covered it all. It was very enjoyable, Matt. Thank you again for inviting me.
Oh, yes, my pleasure. Thank you again. All right, everybody. Thank you all so much for sticking with us and asking your questions and just having, great conversation in the chat there as well. Join us next week, same time, same place, and we'll have another show for you. And until then, always follow your raw intuition.